Welcome inside our New York studios. Brent Stover, Kevin Carter, and Beanie Wells. One of the most pivotal games in the second to final Saturday of the regular season across the country in college football came in the ACC. Georgia Tech, for the first time in 11 years, trying to punch their ticket to the ACC title game. They had to get past the Pitt Panthers, and they got buried early and often. Mason Heichel, Justin Holmes for the touchdown. 14-0 Panthers. Are you kidding me? It's 21-zip in the second. Heichel calls his own number. Kevin, it was 28-0 Pitt at Georgia Tech.
28-7 in the second. Haynes King floats it to Isaiah Canyon in the back of the end zone. Yellow Jackets down 28-14. They're going to come back. And then King looking for his receiver. Bad throw. Picked off by Braylon Lovelace with room to run. In front of him, it's nothing but green grass. 100 yards for the pick six. Panthers up 35-14.
Georgia Tech down 35-21, and King connects with Canyon in the end zone for a second time. Look at the grab there. Jackets down 35-28. Jardan Turner goes up the gut and Pitt's on the afterburners. Look at the outrun the entire defense. 56 yards to the end zone. Had a big day. Pitt wins 42-28.
This is devastating for the Yellow Jackets, falling 9-2, 6-2 of the ACC. Heichel 20-27, 226, 3 total touchdowns. Haynes King 27-41, 257, 2 costly interceptions, 76 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns. And again, Pitt here still very much in the mix. If Pitt beats Miami next week and either SMU loses to Cal or UVA loses to Virginia Tech, then Pitt plays for the ACC title. Meantime, SMU and UVA both control their own destiny to get to the ACC championship. It's a complete mess, and the first thing we need to do before we talk Georgia Tech is to praise the 8-3 Pitt Panthers, very much in the mix for an ACC championship. If you'd have told me we would talk about Pitt perhaps playing in the college football playoff, it seemed crazy, Beanie.
Oh, 100% agree with you, especially after last week and the conversation that Pat Narduzzi had with everybody and said, you know what, I'm not worried about Notre Dame. This isn't a must-win for us. I'm worried about the ACC championship. You get to that game, and I kind of scratched my head and said, dang, I mean, a coach putting that out there to his players, to the fans, but he was on to something, clearly, because the way that they went out and played today, they look like a completely different football team than what we saw last week offensively, getting Turner going over 200 yards on the ground. Then Mason Heichel, him taking care of the football, something he didn't do well in the prior weeks. They look like a completely different team that is willing and ready to go and win an ACC championship.
You got to love Narduzzi just putting it out there that he really didn't care about beating Notre Dame, just wanted to put all of his eggs in this ACC basket. But look, in terms of getting to the college football playoff, you win your conference and you're in. Like, that's the surefire way. That's how Coach Spurrier was 35-some years ago. Before there was a playoff, he was always about winning the conference first, and everything started there. Really smart by Narduzzi to take that route in terms of importance, getting his team ready to play, because he believed that he saw something on film, something with this Georgia Tech team that was not quite up to par, that was inadequate, they were winning by the skin of their teeth. And he felt that he had something that he could do with his team, and they took advantage of it. Love how they played, love how they came out, love how Mason Heichel really took control of this offense, loved his decision-making process. The yardage was somewhat similar in this game, okay? But it's about how they manufactured their production. Basically, was the difference in this game. I mean, Mason Heichel's numbers, look at that. 20 of 27, 226, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. When you compare that to Haynes King, those 2 interceptions become glaring and bigger as we see the result of this game, a loss by 14 points.
Just again to mention here, SMU and UVA, in terms of playing for the ACC championship, SMU and UVA both control their own destiny. But if they both lose, if SMU loses to Cal and UVA loses to Virginia Tech, then Georgia Tech can still get back into this mix and play for the ACC title. In fact, it'd be a situation most likely where it's Georgia Tech against Pitt for the championship. Wow. So Miami is no longer in the picture. They got to find a way to get an at-large into the college football playoff. But as far as Georgia Tech, they have now put themselves in a dicey situation if they want the hopes of a championship at this point.
Yeah, Georgia Tech has played bad football tonight, and especially over the last couple of weeks, I think we saw them inching closer and closer to this doomsday that they had happen tonight on the offensive end, especially when we talk about how well Haynes King has played all season long. To play a game like this where he turned the ball over, he was inconsistent in the pocket, he didn't know when to pull the ball down and run it or when to throw the football away. This was not the typical football team that we saw out of Georgia Tech and Brinke and his teams. They did not go out and play that similar style football to where we're used to seeing them play, tough on the line of scrimmage, tough on the defensive side, but most importantly, discipline with taking care of the football.
Yeah, his decision-making process all night was a little bit in question, and it seemed to carry on to the rest of his team. I mean, they were giving up big plays on defense, really not necessarily what they've done all season long. This defense has been much more crafty, shored up, but the explosive plays, the chunk plays, right, the runs over 15, the passes over 20, they were abounding in this game. This was a sloppy performance by Georgia Tech, kind of the culmination of how sloppy they've been kind of in the last couple of weeks, but they found a way to get it done. They find a way to get it done, and sometimes unfortunately, it comes back to bite you.
Miami beat Virginia Tech 34-17, and we're focusing on this game, but I think it leads to that bigger picture that I keep kind of chipping away at here, Beanie. So I'm just going to ask you flat out, who is the best team in the ACC? I'm going to give you 5. Miami, Pitt, Georgia Tech, SMU, or Virginia?
Oh, man, this is tough. I mean, right now, obviously, off the top of my head, I would go out and say Miami. But when I saw them lose to Louisville and SMU the way that they did, it's like, come on, how can I really call them the best team within that conference? Then I immediately go to Georgia Tech, and I look at them and say, you know what, they've been the most consistent. But in big moments like today, they went out and faltered. So it's kind of hard. It's a toss-up, in my opinion, when you talk about the best clear-cut team in that conference. I don't think there is one.
I think the committee is content to let everyone in the ACC just fight it out because they're telling you over and over again that there's probably going to be one slot in the college football playoff for the ACC. There's not going to be multiple teams unless we've got other drama in other leagues, like Alabama losing in the Iron Bowl, Texas A&M losing to Texas, or something happening in the Big Ten.
Oregon losing to Washington.
Oregon losing to Washington. You're making room in other spaces, but right now, that's why, and even in my own rankings as an AP voter, those teams are kind of transfixed and they're kind of slotted right outside the top 12, and they can't move anywhere because there's too much drama. And the teams that are above them and ahead of them, they have too good of records. So we're not talking about those teams being in question of falling out because they haven't done anything to do so.
Last year, Clemson got the auto bid. They won the ACC title game in dramatic fashion over SMU, but SMU still got in. There is a chance. We keep talking about the ACC one bid. There is still a shot, right? There is still a scenario where Miami gets that at large, and one of these 4 other teams wins the ACC championship.
Yeah, it's going to be so freaking crazy. I can't wait to watch it unfold. I'll tell you that much.
42-28. What a win for the Pitt Panthers going into Atlanta and beating Georgia Tech in their backyard.